Hey, beautiful people. I'm gonna do my best not to burn myself out because, yeah, I'm back for another video. But like, I'm continuing a theme. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Are you listening? Damn.
Honestly, I think my obsession with this started like in third year. Third year was when the concept of systems thinking was introduced to me. And it always just like, once I heard it, I was like, but that makes sense. But that's logical. But anyway, let us get into this, right? In the last video I uploaded, I was talking about systems thinking and RCA or root cause analysis, right? And how these two can be used for solving any problems that you have. So I really want to get further into the idea of how to blend these tools, we'll say. Oh my gosh. It's summer, so flies. Anyway, I want to get into how to blend these two tools when you're looking at solving problems, especially in this industry that we work in, assuming that you work in this industry already. If not, when you do start, well, this will help. So essentially, one looks at zooming in while the other looks at zooming out, right? With root cause analysis, like I mentioned before, we are zooming in, we're investigating, we're trying to figure out what is that thing, that's that little glitch in the system, right? And then with systems thinking now, that's when we zoom out and we look at the bigger picture and say, okay, what's no longer working for our system? How do we optimize or make our entire network system more efficient or effective, right? Okay, cool. Now that we've got that out of the way, I want us to get further into this idea of how we blend the two. And I did bring in like this idea of a two-step framework. So we're going to get into that a little bit more as well today. Let's go. So the reason I say that these two work really well together is because with root cause analysis, right? Here you're getting a quick solve. If you're looking for quick results and you know an instant gratification output, right? Then you definitely want to pull for your RCA. You want to go get that little kink solved, and it relieves the system completely. But the downfall with that is that you do then have the risk of problems coming back. Right now, because you're only pinning it down to one instance or one occurrence, you're not seeing the bigger picture of what may be disrupting your system. So with systems thinking, on the other hand, you get that big picture view of seeing what doesn't work in your entire system. But if you're looking for quick results and you're trying to get something done now, and you need to make a decision now to shift the way that the boat is going, then systems thinking is going to feel like you are not getting to the decision fast enough, right? You're not getting there quick enough. So with that, it's very important to understand that these two things work hand in hand, because one allows you to have those quick solves, while the other then has this approach that allows you to resolve for the long term, right? We take the learnings, like for example, with monthly reports, we take learnings from your monthly report, and ideally you should be able to, in your annual final report, be able to consolidate all those learnings that you've implemented and you've continued to learn from, and consolidate that into like a final POV. You're not necessarily at the end of the year starting to learn and uncover new things. No, you're taking what you've done with every report. You said, okay, this worked, this didn't work, this is what we should do. And then ideally you implement that after that, so that you can start to see how the changes that you're implementing to mitigate what didn't work from happening again, you want to see that now, working out for your brand. So with that, those learnings you've done across the year, you'll ultimately have your final outcomes for the end of the year, learnings that you need to take forward. What is it from the trial and error that we've done throughout the year, refining this bigger strategy? What have we learned? And from that, we can then look at, okay, long-term strategy. When we get into our systems thinking approach, say, okay, what have we learned from those root cause analysis that we conducted throughout this period, that we can then incorporate into our wider systems or strategy approach for the business or brand, right? Or yeah, whatever it is you're working on. So that's kind of how these two interplay with one another, and ideally how you would for them or pull on them to solve a problem in any kind of context that you're working in. Now, with that understanding comes the two-step framework, right? And this should make logical sense at this point, because we're doing our RCA to get those quick fixes and quick and immediate fixes, and we're implementing in our second step the systems thinking for that long-term strategy, the long game approach that we're trying to do, right? So, for example, in our RCA, here we're asking ourselves, what's the root cause, right? Root cause analysis, hence the name. If we see that a campaign is underperforming, for example, and we ultimately find that it's because we're targeting inappropriately on meta ads, right? Our targeting on meta ads does not align to who our audience is or who the creative is aligning with, or our messaging is just not working. Our targeting is off. Whereas with systems thinking, that's when you start to then ask a bigger question, right? Here we go back and you start to say, okay, what bigger structure keeps creating the problem that we're seeing? So RCA, we asked, what is the root cause? And with that, we've got the example of meta targeting. When we get into the systems or long game approach, that's when we start to ask again, what is creating this problem or keeps creating this problem? And the question, or in the same context, that example becomes, maybe are we defaulting to using meta ads instead of diversifying our portfolio and looking at different platforms that we can invest in? Is our strategy over reliant maybe on short-term return on advertising spend metrics as opposed to long-term advertising spend metrics? So, and this is also where you start to get into a conversation of vanity versus performance metrics, because a lot of the times people will basket vanity metrics as, I want to phrase this properly. Well, basket vanity metrics, and again, vanity in itself makes it sound very shallow, but vanity metrics are very much long-term brand building metrics, right? If you think about it, we're looking at how, okay, that is a whole different conversation. You know what? The script, right? Anyway, back to the point. When we are thinking about systems thinking, that's when we start to see that possibly we are over reliant on a single platform or medium or media, and we need to start diversifying our portfolio. Or also we could find that we are looking at the wrong metrics overall to measure our performance. We might be looking at engagement metrics when we are actually running a reach campaign. We might be misaligning up our metrics to our objectives. So again, it's very important to have both approaches when you are dealing with any scenario, any client use case. So another way to put it could be looking at RCA as a plaster. You're putting a band-aid on an injury that you have, right? Whereas with systems thinking, this is more so us shifting our lifestyle so that we don't have the injury in the first place. It is saying, I'm not going to go skiing because I don't want to risk it type of vibes. It's more risk management as opposed to, putting on a bandage. We're saying, okay, how do we avoid getting into this problem in the first place, right? So that's kind of a good way to look at the two approaches. And I hope that kind of helps solidify the ideas for you guys a lot better. Yeah. So another way to put it could be looking at our, and one more time for the people in the back, right? RCA, here we are fixing targeting. We are making minor adjustments to campaigns so that we can optimize in the moment, quick fixes, immediate. Whereas with systems thinking, this is where we reassess the entire audience journey map. We look at all the touch points and we start to future-proof our campaigns in a way that they aren't vulnerable to the same challenges that we experienced in the past. Okay, cool. And the power move here again is in blending these two tools, frameworks, I don't know what they called, but these two things to ultimately solve problems for yourself in any scenario that you may be in the advertising media business landscape, because it is very applicable across different scopes that you can think of applying it in. But yeah, so knowing when to do this, RCA for those quick fixes, and long-term game planning and strategy, that's when you start to incorporate your systems thinking. And I think in the next video, what I'll start to walk you through is maybe a case study. It's going to be dummy information. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't share anything. But I'm going to give you like a walkthrough and you can see how both of these approaches actually look like. And maybe that will finally solidify this thinking and we can close off this 3-episode series. Look at me, a 3-episode series. But okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope, and yeah, I didn't actually wait for anyone to tell me to record this. I just recorded it. Look at that. Anyway, I gotta go. Have a lovely day and be safe, guys. Bye.
Are you listening? Damn.